This program airs statewide on California Public Television and is a California's Gold classic.
Hi, I'm Huell. Right now I'm doing a little bit of work clearing out this old tree trunk. You know, it seems like the pick and the shovel have been a part of our state's history for hundreds of years now, dating back to the early days when we built those first railroads and highways and did all that mining for gold. Well, in this particular adventure, we're going to visit two different places in our state that were literally created by using the pick and the shovel. They were created by two different men with a very clear vision of what they wanted to do. Now, this is going to be one of the most unusual adventures we've ever been on, because both of these places we're going to are underground. So if this has kind of piqued your interest, as always, you're invited to come on along with us as we all continue our search together, this time underground, for California's gold.
Now, to get to our first destination, we headed up Highway 99, about 7 miles north of Fresno. We were on our way to the Forestiere underground gardens. Tucked away right on the side of busy Shaw Avenue, if you didn't know what you were looking for, you could miss them completely. Just drive right on past them, even though they're a California historic landmark and on the National Register of Historic Places. I'd heard about these underground gardens for years and was genuinely excited about finally getting to see them. But I can honestly tell you that when we drove up, I had absolutely no idea just how amazing these gardens would turn out to be.
Good morning.
Good morning, Huell.
I'm Huell.
Pleased to meet you. Nick Forestiere.
Nice to meet you. I assume these are the famous underground gardens.
These are them, except they're underground over here.
Well, can we, I've heard about this place for years. I've been wanting to visit here for a long time. We're finally here and we're ready for the grand tour.
Well, let's go take it then.
These are the famous underground gardens, and I have no idea what to expect, except this is absolutely beautiful here. Tell us the story about how this whole thing got started.
Well, it was started to be created by my great uncle, my grandfather's brother, Baldasare Forestiere. He came from Messina, Sicily about 1900, along with many of the immigrants of that period, and came out here to Fresno to plant orchards and vineyards like he did back in Sicily. But it got so hot here, he couldn't bear the heat. He used to say the heat would burn his ears off. So he started off by digging a small root cellar, wine cellar, and then he ended up sleeping down there because it was much cooler in the evenings. And before you know it, he brought his whole house here. And 40 years later, we have about 5 acres left.
So we've got 5 acres of what? Underground caverns?
Underground rooms and grottos, passageways. He has his whole house down here. His kitchen, bedroom, dining area, bathroom. He has this big ballroom that he planned to have a restaurant in. It's just tremendous what he did down here.
And all of this started in 1906 when he built a wine cellar.
Started off by building a wine cellar,
okay.
And all with hand tools.
Here we go. Now, where are we going?
We're going to go right out through this door here, and it's the entrance to the rest of the gardens.
Come on in, Louis, you'll follow us. Look at this. Ha! This is amazing.
Isn't it? Now, this is one of his first living quarters, these 2 rooms in here. It was actually, when I mentioned he started his cellar, his wine cellar, these were the initial 2 rooms that he first made.
So he lived down here.
Oh yes, we'll see his later living quarters later on the tour. But over here you can see the stovepipe where he had his first wood-burning stove.
So he'd have a stove here. And what were these things used for?
These are all skylights, and the design of them is significant because it uses what's known as the Venturi concept of air circulation. See, they're slanted so it draws the hot air up and the cold air down, so it creates currents throughout the gardens.
Wow. Look at this. Now, what did he do? Was there any purpose? Wait a minute, we're at a dead end here.
Yeah, we probably need to backtrack, and if we follow the
Well,
chronological
you're the
order-
only one who knows where we're going. What's in here?
Well, this is his later living quarters. This is his living room.
And there's his fireplace right over there, and that's a picture of him.
That's a picture of Baldasare, yeah, in his mid-30s, late 30s.
Wow. Well, I'm just wandering here for a minute. Now here's an ice.
Okay.
Okay, here's an ice box, and
Yes.
a stove, and an old radio.
The
in
radio
here.
here.
Now what was this?
This was his kitchen area, and you can see how he made the shelves. And back here's kind of a unique shelf. You know, Baldasare was never married. He was a bachelor all his life. And one of the unique features he put in here was a way to spruce up his kitchen when he had unannounced visitors. This table actually slides back in here, and he has shelves back over here that you can't see, so he can get his dishes out of sight when people came by unexpectedly.
And here's another one of those pipes that goes up to, I guess, to take the smoke out.
Yes.
There's his little ice box. This is an amazing. Now wait a minute. Now we're outside. Now what was this?
This was his bedroom area, bedroom court area. Over here is where he used to take his baths at. He's probably one of the first people to use a solar design to heat his water. You know, 'cause
So we had an outdoor bathtub heated by solar power.
by the 105-degree temperature.
And
of
this
the
was
heat.
what, a patio he would use?
Yeah, these
or
are just grotto areas where he would put different types of trees. You know, it's interesting back then, there wasn't a nursery you can go to buy your trees. So the way you got your variety of fruits and vegetables and trees is that you exchanged them with the different cultural groups that lived up here in Fresno. And all these trees are not from this area at all. They're all unique and from different parts of the world.
Wow. Now what's back here?
Well, that's just another passageway, kind of dead ends. We'll probably pick
Okay,
that
here's
up around
another
the corner.
dead end.
Here's a fish pond. You know, Baldasare was a Roman Catholic, and he never ate fish on Friday. And when he went fishing to the Younkin River, he'd go down in a wagon and big 50-gallon drums, and he'd catch fish like they did back in Sicily with nets. And he'd bring them back here and stock his fish pond.
Wow. We're following you.
Okay, well, let's go out this way over here, since we'll finish up his living quarters area. Now, this is his bedroom and his guest bedroom. You can see he decorated it, and that's the tarp you let down during the winter months to help keep out the cold air.
So he would sleep right up here.
Yeah,
And I bet this was cool in the summertime.
Oh, you
too.
bet.
You know, you could get lost down here.
Oh, yeah, you know, there's only about 4.5 acres of the original 10 acres that he had excavated underground. That's all that's left, and we're trying our best to preserve it. Now, this is an interesting concept. This was his cement tabletop. He had planned to put a restaurant and a hotel down here, and all underground, and these are going to be the tables that he was going to have in his restaurant. And he'd have a little tree in the center as a you know, a little centerpiece, and he would manipulate the light by having the skylight off-center to keep the tree small so it wouldn't be as big as some of these other trees.
So he was going to make this a commercial venture at some point.
Yeah, but you know, it was more for the benefit of the Fresnans trying to get out of the heat than any type of profit motive.
Yeah. Can we go back here?
Sure, let's take a quick
This one
look
looks
here.
interesting back here. Watch your head here, Louis. This one is kind of, oh, wow. Ha! This is, now see, we could go down here or we could come here.
Yeah.
There are crossroads all over the place.
They all intermingle. Now this is a neat feature. This is his auto tunnel. It's over 800 feet long. It starts up by Highway 99 and goes back up by Shell Avenue where we first came in. And he had actually planned to have people drive off the freeway, drive partway through the auto tunnel, get out and go into the restaurant and hotel, and then a valet would drive the car up and park it above ground, just like all the fancy hotels.
So the cars would have come right up here. Now, he made all of this himself? This is a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did all the stonework himself.
Working how many years?
Well, he spent 40 years. He started in 1906, and he actually died working on the gardens. He had a hernia, and they took him to the hospital, and then he died of pneumonia complications. But he actually died working on the gardens.
So he worked on these gardens nonstop for 40 years?
Yeah, but, well, kind of, yeah. You know, he had a business himself. You know, he actually leveled the different vineyards and grounds above ground for the other farmers out here, and that's how he made his money. And he'd work in the morning from sunup to about noon. When it got too hot, he'd come back here for about 4 or 6 hours, and then he'd go back and finish up his job later in the evening when it was cooler.
Now there's another little place down there. I mean, it's everywhere you look.
Now, isn't that interesting how he got that grapevine to come out of the wall there?
So he would have planted this himself.
Yes.
And he purposely planted it to come out of the wall.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And that provides all the shade across here.
This is just beautiful. And to think that he did all of this rock work, and what would he have done? Had to pick all of this out with a pick and shovel?
Right. In fact, we'll see some of the pick marks here still left if he was picking through the hard pan and breaking it into stone.
Wow.
Well, let's make a left over here. We'll go into his chapel courtyard.
I have long since ceased to know where I am.
Okay. Well, this area in here was his underground chapel. We have the bell up on top and used to ring that to communicate with his brother that lived about a mile down the road. And he felt like all the fine estates and castles back in Europe that had little chapels, he considered his home here to be of that type of significance. So he wanted to have his own chapel down here. And this would be the chapel courtyard where people can sit and watch the various ceremonies.
Now, he had orange trees down here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Orange trees and grapefruits and lemons, all different types of citrus trees.
Now, he's got reinforcement here.
Yeah, these are all heavy rebar. That's inch rebar wrought iron that goes throughout the stonework.
Look at this. Now, where haven't we been? We haven't been in here.
Yeah, we're going to go down this way here. And we're in the process of restoring the gardens. I refer to it as going through a renaissance. And one of the trees that was here was a tree that he grafted to bear 3 different types of citrus fruit, an orange, grapefruit, and a lemon. So we're doing the same thing. We're growing the tree, and hopefully we'll get it to graft 3 different fruits back on it again.
You know, he knew what he was doing with this rock work, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he really did this very well.
Well, the hard pan is also back in Sicily, so he was aware of the stone back there. And they used to dry stack it to make retaining walls and bridges and things of that nature. So he was very familiar with how to dry stack the hard pan.
Look how beautiful this looks, just looking down the tunnel here. It's really nice.
Now, one of the misconceptions that people have when they come down here, Huell, is that they think the gardens is totally dark like a cave. And it's really not. Baldasare has opened it up. There's lighting that goes throughout. And even people who are somewhat claustrophobic don't have a difficult time coming down here.
Yeah, it's really very well lit, and that was all part of his plan. Oh, this is beautiful here. Look at this. Here's another one of these. How many little rooms like this did he make?
We counted about 68 that are open to the public, 68 smaller rooms. And see, this is where he was going to have the tabletop. So actually he had planned people to sit out here as part of his restaurant.
I got you. So each one of these little rooms would have been a restaurant.
Yeah, a little table.
A little table area.
Sure.
Now, are these original trees?
Yes, these trees were planted, back in 1906. So, this tree here is about 90 years old, and it's still bearing fruit today.
And it grows up to the light.
Correct. And Baldasare started experimenting with the light somewhat too, because if he made smaller skylights, he didn't get quite the fruit production he wanted. So throughout the gardens, you'll see little different ideas about how to manipulate the light to get better growth of trees. Well, this is another unique feature of the gardens, Huell. This is his glass bottom aquarium.
His glass bottom aquarium?
Yes. Now, when he went fishing, he'd find some fish he said were just too pretty to eat. And he liked watching fish. It was fairly soothing. And so he'd have on top here water about 8 inches high. In that center hole, he had a piece of glass to keep the water up in here. And then he had this little pathway where he could walk back and sit there in that little seat he carved out for himself. Or if it was too hot, he'd come back down the stairs here and go underground and look up through the glass to watch the fish swim where it was a lot cooler.
Oh, so this was glass, and he could go underneath there and look up, or sit here and look out at his pool.
That's correct.
Gosh, he was creative.
And what was really neat when my dad used to visit is the reflection off the water underground made it sparkle down here. So it's really quite a neat effect he created.
He was an artist, wasn't he?
Yes, I think so. I believe so. He really sculpted the gardens. He just didn't dig them out.
Yeah. Do you think he knew when he started what it was going to what it was going to lead into?
Well, I don't think he really thought that he's going to do all this. I thought he probably thought he'd do a room or two, and one thing led to another, and then I think he really just got caught up into it. He really thought that this was the wave of the future. He thought houses underground, insulated with dirt, especially with the heat here in Fresno, was the best way to go. And so he was out to sell his ideas basically to the Fresnans. And to be honest with you, quite a bit of the Fresnans came out here and visited him before air conditioning came around.
Did he have any formal education?
No, that's surprising. He really didn't. He came from a family back in Sicily, but they didn't have education like we have today. Back in the 1900s. He was born in 1879.
So he learned all of this about farming and agriculture and engineering and light and moisture and all of that just as a self-taught thing.
That's correct. Yes. Truly amazing.
When you actually when you think about this, this was all a dream of Baldasare's, wasn't it?
Very much so. And he came over here a Sicilian immigrant and did a lot of this work. And it's so overwhelming. He used to say that the visions in his mind overwhelmed him as to what he wanted to do out here. He wanted to build a restaurant, a hotel, and he wanted so much to do for the people of his family and the Fresnans here to enjoy his underground retreat and escape from the heat.
Well, he's not here, but his underground tunnels are, and they are being enjoyed by the people of California.
Very much so.
Do you think he would appreciate the way people are relating to it today?
I think very much so. At the time they thought he was a little odd for doing all this.
Did they?
Oh, yeah. But today, he is celebrated by architects and engineers. Everyone is just astounded by what one man can do with a pick, shovel, and wheelbarrow underground.
Our next destination was located in the northeastern part of Kern County in the northern Mojave Desert, about 35 miles south of Ridgecrest. Now, to get there, we traveled through some beautiful vistas, and to say this part of our state has some wide open spaces is an understatement. We were headed for the El Paso mountain range, Copper Mountain to be exact, and the last part of our journey was over an incredibly bumpy dirt road. But nothing was going to stop us, because we were in search of a legend. His formal name was William Henry Schmidt, and from all accounts, he was a character. He moved to California in 1899 from Rhode Island for his health, settled in Last Chance Canyon, and before long, nobody called him William anymore. His new name was Burro Schmidt, because of his two constant companions, Jack and Jenny. And what he set out to accomplish between 1906 and 1938, with only the help of these two burros, still stands as one of the greatest one-man engineering feats ever. Now, we arrived at Burro Schmidt's old home place accompanied by an entourage from the Matarango Museum in Ridgecrest, and met up with Tony Seger, who lives on the land these days and looks after the place, and is pretty much of a character herself.
Hi, I'd like you to meet Huell.
Hello. How are you doing?
If I was doing that in bed, I'd be dangerous.
After spending some time with Tony and getting a personal tour of Burro Schmidt's old cabin, which is almost 100 years old and is kind of like a mini museum itself, it was time to hike up Copper Mountain to visit the site of Burro Schmidt's greatest accomplishment. Now, we're leaving the little cabin here, and we're walking
up to the tunnel.
Up to the tunnel.
Right, that made Burro famous.
Now, when you say it made him famous, what are we talking about here?
Well, he came up with the idea of building a tunnel, starting a tunnel through the mountain to make transportation to the train lines for the ore more expeditious and less expensive. Mm-hmm. And once he got into the actual tunnel building, he kind of lost sight of the ore and the process of getting the gold to the market, and just got consumed with this idea of finishing this tunnel through the mountain. And he worked all by himself, using hand picks and dynamite, and it's one of the things he was famous for was cutting his fuses very short to save money. He would work in Kernville during the summer working on the vegetable farms and doing that sort of ranch work to raise money to come back and work during the winter, fall and winter.
On his tunnel.
On his tunnel.
Now, he started digging this tunnel in...
He started in 1906 and completed it in 1938.
So he worked for 32 years.
Building a tunnel.
Building a tunnel.
By himself.
By hand.
By hand.
Now, it's one thing to talk about the Burro Schmidt Tunnel. It's another to actually walk through it, and that's what we have. We're all hardy souls. We have decided we're going to go on a little hike. We're going to leave you here because we know your feet are a little sore today.
I got a broken leg, a cut arm, a bent knee, and asthma.
You're all banged up. Now tell us...
Well, I'm 100 years old.
Tell us what we should look out for in there.
Don't wang your head.
Don't wang our heads.
She's okay.
I'm too tall.
She's not quite. He's okay. She's okay.
What about me?
You're too tall. You know why?
Well,
I went through that and I hit my head like that and I went right out flat. Well, I said, this has got to go. And I'm 5'5".
So I really better be going down, hadn't I? Okay, well, we're off. We got a lantern here. We're going to say goodbye.
So my hair can go.
We're going to say goodbye. Thank you very much. We're off on our tour.
Good.
We'll see you when we get back out, and I'm not going to wang my head. Come on, let's go through. Duck.
Duck.
Here we go. And don't forget to duck. I don't want him to hit the camera. Do you think old Burro Schmidt got lonely working back in here all those years by himself?
No, I don't think so. I think he was really concentrated and focused on what he was doing. He was really concerned about getting further in the tunnel. And when you're busy, when you're working, that physical labor like that, you're really not thinking about loneliness or what's happening with people. You're really busy. Well,
he was probably a loner kind of anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah, I suspect he was pretty much a loner. He had also had the opportunity to interact with people after he came out of the tunnel. There were a lot of miners that lived in Last Chance Canyon, and they were very supportive. They had a real community, and they got together. They helped each other out in times when one needed something. They were there for each other.
Wow, I tell you what, you do have to duck down in here because it's... Now look at this that we're coming into. What is this?
Well, the red here you see is iron ore leaching out, and you can see the quartz. The white is quartz, and there's this copper in here, and this is all decaying granitics. And when you're mining for gold, you look for veins of quartz.
Do you think there's gold still in here?
Well, they say there is. I think that yes, if you were really.
Look at this.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
Now what is this?
That's the iron ore.
Iron ore.
Leaching out.
And look,
yes.
There's a hole that was drilled.
Yeah, he may have.
To blast something out.
Right. Yes, you can see that big hole that chunk that's come down.
They were drilling these by hand in that time period. They didn't have the pneumatic drills that they do now.
Look at all of this. This is just spectacular colors here. And it's getting real crunchy back here, too. It's amazing to think of a man back in here by himself working for 32 years.
It is. At one point, he dug a shaft that about 200 feet went about 200 feet in one direction. That he later found out that it was the wrong direction, and he wasn't going to come out of the side of the mountain where he wanted to be. So he had to go back and start off and.
So he was going in the wrong direction for a while. Wow. Watch your step, everybody. Keep your heads down. Okay, we have visitors. Hello.
Boy, hello.
Who are you?
My name is David Clement. I'm from Albany, California.
Well, I'm Huell Hauser from California's Gold. We're back here looking at Burro Schmidt. Who have you got with you back there?
Well, I've got my boy Michael.
Come on, Michael. We found a tour group coming through. What brought you to this place? This isn't an easy place to find.
Well, we like to camp in Last Chance Canyon, and we saw it on the map, and it's cold today, so we thought we'd go.
Howdy, Michael. What do you think about this place? Kind of neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, have you all seen anything that stands out in your mind so far on the trip? Other than the fact that a TV camera showed up as you were heading around the corner?
Well, we've seen some tremendous rocks. I mean, you can't miss the rocks, and that's why we came, was to look at the rocks.
Okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel, literally. We're here. You can see the light down here.
2,000 feet later.
I just wonder how he must have felt when he broke out.
Oh, I can just imagine.
Well, we made it.
Wow.
This is something.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Look at this.
He must have really had such a sense of total freedom when he came out.
Wow. Have we counted out? Did everybody make it that started? We're all here. And look at this. This is what he saw after 36, 38 years of digging. He finally made it, and this was his payoff right here.
That's it. And there's the railroad tracks down there.
Wow. This is really special. Well, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tour. Nice to have met you all. And here we are out here enjoying this wonderful afternoon. It's windy. It's a little brisk, but we got a beautiful view. And more importantly, we have all kind of shared this wonderful dream that Burro Schmidt had. And there's his dream right there. That's his tunnel. That's his dream. Well, I hope you enjoyed this particular adventure. I told you it was going to be unusual, and it wasn't until after we visited both of these places that we realized that these two men, Mr. Forestiere and Burro Schmidt, were both living and digging in California at exactly the same time, less than 150 miles apart. And yet neither of these men ever met each other or knew what the other one was doing. It's a very interesting and unique bit of California history. And of course, both of these men did realize their dreams. Well, I hope you enjoyed this visit. As always, you're invited to come on along with us again next time as we all continue our search together for California's gold.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, all you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.